Congresswoman, we've been talking about this bill for the last couple of days. What do you think is possible to do, aside from having Nancy Pelosi give a friendlier speech on the floor to close it, to get a few more votes to get this over the finish line?
Well, John and Tamron, what we're hearing is the FDIC has talked about increasing the limits. That was a concern on the part of some in Congress. And I think there's some other regulatory reform concerns that people have raised, some of which may or may not be included in the bill. But I think the good news is Americans have taken a breath, and the markets have taken a breath as well, as we're working through towards bipartisan support.
Is it a problem for you in getting more votes that the market's up more than 300 points so far today?
I don't think so. I think, some of the same calls that have been coming in against it initially partly was because of lack of information on how much the bill had improved to protect taxpayers, but certainly with that education happening and people understanding that this is important for regular Americans, the calls have gone in just the opposite direction as people have seen the values of their 401ks shift. And as Susie Orman's done a great job saying to Americans, if you have a credit card and then you need credit, you don't want to go to the store and not be able to use it. I think that's the kind of messaging that the media is helping people understand why this is important for them.
And Congresswoman Susie has not been alone in that. But let me ask you this. We're talking about the finger pointing that's been going on, especially Democrats pointing the finger at Republicans, but the majority of the Hispanic caucus opposed the bill. In the Black caucus, 20 out of the 38 members voted no. That includes Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. from your own state. What needs to be done on the Democratic side to make sure that this gets passed and passed soon?
Well, like I said, we have a diverse caucus, and there's a lot of diverse opinions amongst members on both sides of the aisle, so I can't speak for anyone individually. But I do think because people don't understand this, there was a disconnect in some areas where people were saying, how is this going to help me? And some people don't have pension savings, and so they didn't see how this related to them. But everybody needs credit, and I think that's a message that's getting out to create a better support on the part of Americans. But it'll be up to every member to bring their issues to their leadership so we can address their concerns and get this done.
How do you improve the disconnect? Because we heard early on that Secretary Paulson did not speak in, American lingo and help people understand. And then the president came out too late with the words, your credit will be in jeopardy. Like you said, Susie Orman said, if you got a credit card, you could be affected by this. When you go back to the drawing board and you bring this back to your constituents and the others who are listening out there, how do you change the vernacular so that people don't have that disconnect?
Well, I think that's why I brought it up. The credit card one is one that everybody can relate to. We all rely on credit in our lives, and that's important. I think you're right. When we were getting testimony from Chairman Bernanke and also Secretary Paulson in the House Committee on Financial Services, which was televised to the public, the challenge is they're talking in terms of liquidity, and not everyone relates to that. And so I think we've tried to bring it down to average Americans so they can understand that it's important to instill confidence around the world in our markets.